better. Touchdown, Michigan! Say goodnight to it!
Laura Williams, you know the school.
As years go by, I race the clock with you. But if you die right now, you know that I die too. You remind me of the times when I knew who I was. But still the second hand will catch us like it always does. Until the day I die, I feel my heart for you.
Side K2.
They are the national champions of college football.
College Game Day is built by The Home Depot, proud sponsor of college football's premier pregame show.
It is that time of year. Great to be back with you, Chris, Lee, and Kirk. Now, last time we all got together, it came following the most exciting, controversial national title game in history. We certainly had one of the most exciting, controversial, weird off seasons in history. Headlines in the spring and summer. We'll get to all that stuff, various forms of misbehaving by coaches and players. But first, Coach, give me something to look for this year.
Well, I'm looking forward to 2004. Yeah, 2004, when I think instant replay will be used in the BCS title game for the first time. More about that later on the show. A couple of reasons. First of all, it's an excellent idea. The time has come. And the commissioner of the Big Ten, Jim Delaney, he kind of likes the idea. Done deal. That guy likes it.
He likes it, especially last year, after last year's game. It'd be a good time to put it in there. Let's bring it back to the field. I think something to keep an eye on in the early games in September when the heat is going to be extremely high is to watch the players and their conditioning. The NCAA this year mandated a new rule for all teams to have a different guidelines when it comes to two-a-days. And I think that put the coaches in a dilemma. I understand why it was done by the NCAA because of recent casualties, but the coaches are trying to push their teams to get into shape. At the same time, they need to be sensitive to the players and the heat and the health and the well-being of these players. I think consequently we're going to see players out there that aren't in the best shape that they can be in, and teams are going to lose games in that heat in the fourth quarter.
See which programs can handle the new rules. When you're talking about 04, you mean January 4, this season's championship game.
Absolutely, January 4.
We're going to talk about all the conference races later on in this hour. I'll give you a quick tease. These guys disagree on the conference champs of every single BCS conference.
Absolutely.
And it wasn't even planned that way. It just happened.
No talking. Perfect.
Another storyline for this season has to be new blood because the top 10 Heisman vote getters from last year have all moved on. So a major storyline, new faces. We'll tell you which guys will have the stats, play well in the big games, and their teams will have success. Takes all three to win the Heisman. No doubt the deepest, most talented position in college football is wide receiver. Roy Williams will tell us why he is the best of the bunch. And the first installment of our season inside Notre Dame football as the Irish try to build on that 10-win season.
Butts on the line! Discipline! Come on, work. There you go.
Our list of 10 stories to watch for college football 2003 has to begin with the team that ended last season as champions. The Buckeyes bring a 14-game winning streak into the opener against Washington, but they won't have running back Maurice Clarett. It's been a very tough off-season for Clarett and for the Buckeyes in general. Allegations, investigations, not exclusively surrounding Clarett, however. With more in the story in the latest, Reese Davis, Mark May, and Trev Alberts.
Chris, the Maurice Clarett saga keeps hanging over the Ohio State Buckeyes. Trev Alberts, Mark May here with me. We will hear from them in just a little bit. Clarett is on his way back to practice. Exactly when he'll play again, well, we're not sure. The mercurial running back gets a multi-game suspension after Ohio State Athletic Director Andy Geiger reviewed allegations against him. Some allegations of academic improprieties, possibly some extra benefits involved with the use of a car. A multi-game suspension is what Clarett will receive. Head coach Jim Tressel reacted on Friday afternoon.
I guess what I know is that it will be multiple games. Don't know exactly what it will be. And the other thing that I know is that Maurice is anxious to get back in the fold, you know, with his football family. And we'll begin doing that here beginning on Sunday.
We think it's time to bring him into the program. We have movement on the subject, and we think it's probably best for Maurice to come in. He's really expressed his desire to get back into the community and begin again. He was very intense about that today.
You know, I'm sure mistakes have been made, and we have the responsibility of losing some privileges. But what's most important about anything is what you do from this point on, and I'm excited to get going from that standpoint.
Well, it's not a giant step toward a resolution, but maybe a baby step toward it. Trev, there's a school of thought out there that perhaps Ohio State is better off given this distraction without Maurice Clarett. What do you think?
The key word there is distraction, and that's exactly right. I mean, the distraction, I think, is terrible for this football team. Make no mistake about it. If it wasn't the distraction, Maurice Clarett is a special football player, and Ohio State would be a better football team with Maurice Clarett on the sideline. But the reality is this. If 13 continues to be the distraction, the thing you have to understand, Mark, about Ohio State, they're loaded with talent. I mean, this is a football team. Lydell Ross, Maurice Hall, these are talented football players on this team.
I definitely agree with you, and the word that you said that really stuck out is team. This is a team, and they don't have to have Maurice Clarett to win. There's one thing that he will learn through this experience, and this is an awakening for him. He will mature during this. We thought he was a mature player because he enrolled at Ohio State early, went through spring practice. On the field of play, obviously, he's head and shoulders above just about every freshman in the land, but it's off the field of play that I'm concerned with. He needs to mature. He needs to grow up. He needs to decide if he wants to be part of this football team, not only on the field, but off the field.
You know, the other thing, too, guys, talking about, I think the fact that Craig Krenzel's on this football team is such a stabilizing force for this team. I mean, Craig Krenzel, the guy who's the leader of this football team, we've talked about Maurice Clarett, but I'm just talking about the rest of the guys. A terrific defensive football team. They play special teams, and I think Jim Tressel is the right coach to handle this situation.
And as Ron Jaworski pointed out the other day, Jim Tressel is not a coach who builds his football team around a single player. A lot of talented guys at Ohio State, and it appears that they will be tested for quite a while. Chris?
Now the big question here, and the answer is almost always no. You know what that's like. You have no idea what it's like. So can the defending champs repeat? It's happened twice in terms of consensus titles in a half century.
I say no. I think the reason why is that every team that they play is going to bring their A game. They can't afford to stumble. Last year they won 7 ball games by 7 points or less. They lost all of their luck. Use it all up for 3 years.
Yeah, they did use a lot of it. They caught every break you could possibly catch. Forget about the pressure, the complacency. You lose that hunger and desire sometimes, and you're trying to repeat. The other thing is the schedule. They have 8 home games, but they go to Madison, they go to Ann Arbor, and they go to Happy Valley. 3 of the toughest environments in the country. I don't think they'll repeat.
No.
We're going to see if you even like them in the Big Ten.
We'll see.
Last year, it took a perfect record to get to that BCS title game. That's the only way with that formula to ensure that you control your own destiny. Very few, if any, mulligans in college football. So our number 9 story to watch this season, those single impact games that can shape a season. Reese Davis has a look.
In the 5 years of the BCS, members of 5 different conferences have won the national title. USC hopes to make it 6 for 6 this season. The Trojans face a stiff test right out of the gate. Traveling to Auburn is tough enough, but it will be just as difficult to stop the Tigers' loaded backfield.
It's Cadillac Williams. Look out!
Ohio State's road to a repeat starts getting bumpy September 13th when NC State rolls into town. The Buckeyes return 10 starters on offense, but it's the D that'll be tested by Heisman candidate Phillip Rivers. If this is finally the year for Kansas State, the Wildcats must beat Texas on October 4th. K-State has won 2 of its last 3 against the Horns, and a win could send them to Nebraska in November with a perfect record. Judgment Day could be October 11th. Miami, Oklahoma, and Ohio State all away from home. The Red River Shootout resumes in Dallas.
Touchdown, Lehman! Touchdown, Oklahoma!
Ohio State goes to Camp Randall, where the Buckeyes will be tested again by 1,500-yard rusher Anthony Davis and a healthy Lee Evans. And in Tallahassee, just another Miami-Florida State showdown. What are the chances that the next chapter will be decided by yet another last-second field goal?
He missed it! Wide left!
Last time Miami visited Blacksburg, a failed 2-point conversion was the difference. He dropped it on the road to the national championship. On November 1st, the Big East lame Ducks battle for another conference title.
What an upset. A shock in Norman this afternoon.
I'm sick of hearing that. I wish we could play him tomorrow.
The Cowboys have ended OU's championship dreams the last 2 seasons, and the Sooners may find themselves in the same position on November 1st, facing a stronger OSU team with the stakes just as high. On November 22nd, it's Woody and Bo, Maize and Blue versus Scarlet and Gray, the 100th meeting between the Buckeyes and the Wolverines. Ohio State goes for 3 straight in the series. Let's party, Columbus! Something the Bucks haven't done since the 60s. And November 29th is a long way away, but Pittsburgh hopes the Big East title is still up for grabs when Miami comes to town. If the Canes can survive a brutal non-conference schedule, a 3rd straight BCS title game appearance could be for the taking in the Steel City.
All right, Reese, good job. If those 10 games pan out, we're going to have a great season on our 10th anniversary of the road shows. I think last season, the best moment we saw, at least I saw, was the tension and the release of the Ohio State-Michigan game. It's in the big house. Pressure shifts maybe to the Wolverines because they're 0-2 against Old Trestle.
We'll see. I tell you what, first game I want to look at is Oklahoma, Texas. The 2 best football teams in the world play. The winner of that ball game, Big 12 champion, possible national title. Second, USC at Washington. I think this is for the Rose Bowl bid, not a national title. And the last one, the Ohio State Buckeyes at Michigan. Both undefeated for the national title. And you know what, Kirk, giving you another prediction. College Game Day will be at all 3 of those games. You want to bet a nickel?
Well, no, I'm not going to bet. Hopefully my 3 will also be there to check these out. First one, forget about Ohio State and Michigan at the end of the year. Ohio State, Wisconsin. The winner of that game, in my opinion, will go on to win the Big Ten championship. I think Wisconsin's a team to look out for. Miami and Virginia Tech, the game goes to Blacksburg. Last year, the Big East, same rules apply. I think the winner of this game could be on their way to the Sugar Bowl in the national championship, and then the Big 12 championship game. Chances are we're going to have Oklahoma and Kansas State playing in Kansas City. We saw it a couple years ago with Oklahoma on their way to a national title, and I think the winner of that game also will get to the Sugar Bowl. Oklahoma, Kansas State. They don't play in the regular season. That would be a great game to watch.
The best day of the year is October 11th. You got Tennessee playing Georgia, Florida, LSU, plus
Miami,
Ohio State, Wisconsin, Miami, Florida State, and Oklahoma, Texas.
That's it.
Life is
Schedule
good.
always a big part of the national championship chase. When you look at it, who's got the toughest schedule?
Notre Dame. I don't know who made the Notre Dame schedule, but I'm telling you, 6 of the top 20 teams in the nation, they play at Michigan, at Purdue, at Pittsburgh, at Syracuse. Now, the easiest game is Navy, and Navy almost beat them last year. I'm telling you, that's a
Notre Dame has a very the games that they have to go to on the road, like you said. But a team that has legitimate shots, getting a lot of the hype this year, are the Auburn Tigers. But for them to live up to the hype, check out this schedule. They go to they have USC at home. They've got Tennessee at home. They're at LSU. They're going to be playing at Georgia. Later in the year, they're going to be playing, Alabama. This is a tough grind for Auburn. Not to mention that if they get through all that, they've got to go to Atlanta to the SEC championship game. For Auburn to live up to the hype, they've got a long way to go.
I'd toss in Colorado and Florida State. How about Florida State's non-conference? You get Colorado, Miami, Florida, and at Notre Dame. It's a weird schedule. They start with 3 ACC games. Flip side now. Easiest schedule among contenders we're talking about here.
Minnesota.
Yeah,
they're a contender. All right. They're going to win 9 games this year.
Yeah, they will.
2 ball teams that 2 top 20 teams they play are Michigan and Wisconsin. They play them both at home, and no Buckeyes. Well, Minnesota, sleeper team.
Minnesota could get to 10 wins maybe in the regular season, but they're not a contender for a BCS. I think Wisconsin, they get Ohio State, they get Purdue at home, and they don't play Michigan. Wisconsin could definitely make a run this year.
Absolutely.
I'll give you one. Oregon State has a friendly schedule on the Pac-10, and TCU, not a BCS conference, but they have a schedule. They could be right there undefeated at the end of the year. A lot more coming up on our College Game Day look at the 2003 season. Oklahoma, bullseye on their back. Can they uphold the #1 ranking? We'll visit with Bob Stoops. Kellen Winslow, Roy Williams easily ranked as the 2 top receivers, pass catchers in college football. How their 2 paths led them there. And our 2 of the most storied programs headed in a downward spiral. Why their coaches are feeling heat. Bowden and Solich. Plus Notre Dame All Access.
Let's go, baby. Pride on 3. 1, 2, 3.
College Game Day Season Preview Special. Built by the Home Depot. You can do it. We can help. And brought to you by 1-800-COLLECT. Save a buck or two.
Will the Zebras be in the crossfire again this season? Remember Jopa showing the wheels to register his disgust with the officials after a loss?
The officials on the way out of the stadium.
A couple of lousy calls on the other side of the field.
You know, Joe would not let that go. He really believes those calls ruined his season. And then they had the Big 12 crew in the national title game, not exactly covering itself in glory. So, issue number 8, does college football need instant replay a la the NFL?
Well, I think the National Football League system is perfect. The title game of the BCS is too important to have the winner possibly decided by a correctable mistake by the officials. Let's take a look at last year's game. Here's the interference call. This is not reviewable, judgment call, but this one could be reviewed. The Buckeyes need a first down to keep the football. Watch Campbell as he keeps his feet in. Boom. I think that would have been a first down. There would have been no punt, no return. Ohio State wins that ball game in regulation time. I think they needed in the national title game NFL people, NFL equipment, NFL rules. Do it in a National Football League style, but do it in the Sugar Bowl next year. They got to have it.
Well, I think and once you have that in the national championship game, maybe it could filter down, and maybe we could see it in the regular season. If you think about what Dave Perry has done this past season, the supervisor of Big Ten officials, after all the scrutiny on his officials last year, they did a study and found that there are actually 15 to 20 mistakes that would have been reversed in the regular season within the Big Ten. That's big, and that's something that I think is gaining momentum. In fact, the coaches in the Big Ten have done a 180. Before it was, well, I don't know if we need it, it'll slow down the game. Now, there are too many games that matter. These coaches now want to see it implemented during the regular season, too.
We all want to see the officials have a better year this year, but you might be the only guy in the world that thinks the NFL replay system is perfect. It's perfect.
Well, it's better than
you watch an NFL game.
Tell you what, it's better than what we got right now. Right. Hello.
I'll give you that.
Thank you.
I'm still skeptical of what's going to show up in the Sugar Bowl. That's something we're going to have to.
It's going to show up in the Sugar Bowl. Mark it down on your calendar.
There's a lot of things we've already marked down.
Number 7, our ESPN preseason top 10. It's a pretty wide open race. It's very close at number 1. We'll begin with the number 10 ranked team. And ESPN US Today coaches poll it is Virginia Tech. Their collapse last season's motivated them. They're loaded with the skill. Great defense with 9 starters back. First test A&M home on a Thursday night, 2 weeks from Thursday. I think 10th is too low for this team. Georgia, whole new offensive line for the defending SEC champs in front of David Green. The linebackers are all new, not at full strength for the game at Clemson in the opener. Number 8, after a great season last year in the finish, USC. Totally rebuilt backfield behind the veteran line. Matt Leinart, the sophomore, replaces Carson Palmer. They're built on defense, though. You see some freshmen have some action for Southern California. Michigan, number 7. More explosive offense. They are promising. Great offensive line. At Minnesota is their toughest road game. They should be favored in all 12 games. Number 6, Auburn, one of the buzz teams. Biggest jump from the final ranking to the preseason ranking. O-line is good, linebackers are good, running backs are good. Jason Campbell, the quarterback, is the question.
A lot of pressure there for Auburn.
5 is Kansas State. The Big 12 has 3 of the top 5. Cats, 15 starters back. Roberson, Sproles, but they visit Texas and Nebraska. Title games at Arrowhead. Texas, another one of the contenders out of that league. Chance Mock has everything a new quarterback could ask for. Receivers, line, running game, and defense. Miami starts out number 3, trying to start a new streak. They play in Shreveport against Louisiana Tech in the opener. Number 2 is Ohio State. Can they improve their offense against no Maurice Clarett for the opening game against Washington? When will they get him back? Tressel, not even sure. And the preseason number 1 in the coaches poll and the AP is Oklahoma. One more first place vote than Ohio State. We saw the Sooners in the spring. Their defense is absolutely phenomenal. The importance of the preseason rankings, you might be skeptical, but keep in mind, every year of the BCS title game, at least one of the top 2 teams ranked in the preseason have gotten through and made it to the title game. Very often, a team ranked outside the top 10 is the opponent. Sooners boss Bob Stoops joins us now. Coach, can you give us an anecdote or a moment from preseason camp that makes you believe that your team has the hunger to kind of go wire to wire this year?
There are several. Some of our team meetings, our captains' meetings, and some of our seniors that have spoke to the team And then the way we've practiced. I really do like the character, the attitude, the toughness we've exhibited through camp. There's a good feeling about this team.
We saw you guys in the spring. It should be illegal to have that much talent on defense. You've got as many defensive guys on some of these preseason award watch lists as other conferences have. Is there one guy, though, whose play is key, making this defense great and not merely very good?
Well, I'd take a guy from each part of the defense. Up front, Tommy Harris in the defensive line, in the linebackers, Teddy Lehman, Lance Mitchell, excellent players. And then in the secondary, Derek Strait. Those guys are our biggest leaders.
With all that talent, I think the only liability might be if your two coordinators screw it up. Have you taken measures to make sure that won't happen this year?
Well, they've worked hard. They always do. They coach hard every day. Mike Stoops, Brent Venables, and Jackie Shipp, Bobby Jack Wright, our other two coaches on defense. They do a great job having our players prepared and technique-wise through the year. So very proud of how they work, and they'll have them ready.
A lot of focus on your quarterback health and the quarterback competition. But is great quarterback play in college football overrated to winning a national title?
Well, not only in college football, probably in the NFL as well. You know, you look at the past maybe three Super Bowl winners as well, and then, you know, in the college game, definitely. There's a lot more to it. You know, the running game, the defense, the special teams, big play potential from receivers. So a lot of it besides the quarterback really determines the national champion, definitely.
Bob, a couple of years ago was George O'Leary. This past offseason, Mike Price, Rick Neuheisel, off-the-field troubles. Are the rules changing for coaches and behavior?
I don't believe so. I believe the rules have always been, you know, been the way they are. It's unfortunate for everybody involved in all these situations, and I'm not one to sit here and talk about anyone else. But you know, again, we understand that there's a, you know, everybody is a reporter anymore, and what you do is public knowledge to everyone. So you know, just I believe in just doing what's appropriate, and you shouldn't have problems.
Bob, thanks for your time. We look forward to perhaps seeing the Sooners and the Crimson Tide in Tuscaloosa week 2. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, thanks.
When we come back, we'll talk about the year of the receiver and why these guys are catching our eye. Plus, teams that had a tough time catching Willis McGahee this time last year. No one really expected great things from him. Who's moving under the radar this season? We'll have a visit from Mel Kiper ahead. And Silver fans, 7:45 Eastern Saturday night on ESPN. Maybe you'll get a chance to watch Darren Sproles bust loose. He could be a breakout player. If you recall, last year Willis McGahee really had never been a starter. Larry Johnson just part of the mix at Penn State, and both guys emerged and had record-breaking Heisman finalist type seasons. Who might be a breakout guy for 2003? We have just the man here to provide that information. Guys, under the radar with Mel Kiper.
Miami of Ohio's Ben Roethlisberger follows in the footsteps of Chad Pennington and Byron Leftwich as the next great quarterback out of the Mid-American Conference. Not only does the 6'5", 240-pounder possess ideal size along with a big arm, but he also moves around surprisingly well. At Oklahoma State, all the talk surrounds super blue chip senior wide receiver Rashawn Woods. But another key piece of the puzzle on offense is running back Tatum Bell. The 5'11", 205-pounder has gotten bigger and stronger every year in the Cowboy program, and along the way, learned to eliminate the costly fumbles and take better care of the football. SEC quarterbacks better watch out for Mississippi State's physically gifted defensive tackle, Tommy Kelly. Last year, the 6'6", 295-pounder recorded just 1 sack, but this time around, he's benefiting from the superior coaching abilities of defensive line guru John Blake, who developed Leon Lett into a disruptive force. Arizona State's Brett Hudson is ready to make his mark as one of the elite safeties in the country. Combining toughness, smarts, and instincts with first-round computer numbers, the 6'2", 217-pounder runs in the 4.50 range and has been drawing rave notices from Sun Devil head coach Dirk Cutter. Fresno State fans have to be thrilled now that big play wideout Bernard Berrien is off the injury list and nearly 100% following a knee injury that sidelined him virtually all of last season, as well as post-surgery he underwent in June. Berrien, a true difference maker at wide receiver, also doubles as a dangerous kickoff returner.
Mel's going to drop by throughout the season with guys under the radar. Tommy Kelly, one of you guys there. He'll make a play once a game.
Yes, he will.
Get that motor going. Give me the impact guys who mean the most to their team. That's number 6.
Well, I think the Wisconsin running back Anthony Davis is number 1 on my list. This guy has averaged over 5 yards per carry for 2 straight years. He's got vision. He's got speed. This is against the Buckeyes, where he made 100 yards rushing against Ohio State last year in the first half. He had 154 versus Michigan. Now, Chris Gamble, this guy is one of my favorites on offense. He averages 16 yards per catch. He's also a weapon on defense, where here against Penn State, he intercepts the football and watch. Boom, boom, scores. Punt, kickoff. I think he's the most valuable and talented player on the Buckeye team, including Maurice Clarett. I take this guy.
Give me some of that.
That guy's great.
Oh, he's great. He's all over the field. I think 2 players that fit this category. Both play quarterback, but they couldn't be any different as far as their style. The first is Kansas State quarterback L. Roberson. If Kansas State's going to make a run at a Big 12 championship, Roberson needs to continue to improve his decision-making by throwing the football. And, of course, his athletic ability is what separates him. I think he's the best dual-threat quarterback in all of college football. And then in North Carolina State, Philip Rivers. Philip is entering his 4th year as a starter, and NC State feels they're ready to take it to the next level. They couldn't have handpicked a more experienced and poised leader than Philip Rivers. And being down at Raleigh a couple weeks ago, he feels that this might be his best collection of wide receivers. 1 to 5, this could be his best group. So look for big things this year from Philip Rivers.
Bob Soups just said quarterbacks are overrated. You got the two impact guys.
Look out.
You disagree.
At least in that case, I do.
Quarterback's got to have somebody to throw to. And if you look at the wide receivers this year, it is a stunning cast of talent. When you consider Charles Rogers, Andre Johnson both come out early, they're top 10 draft picks, and yet you still have an unbelievably deep crop of wide receivers. 3 different Williams at 3 different schools, 3 different classes, none of them related. I mean, it's incredible.
I think Randy Moss may have started a trend, because you're right. What an incredible year for receivers. Not only can these guys run, but they're the size of linebackers. And probably the biggest and the fastest is Texas wide receiver Roy Williams, who surprised us all by skipping and waiting on the NFL to come back for his senior year.
Touchdown, what a catch. Touchdown, too easy. The legend adds to it.
I want to be the best, so top 10, that doesn't satisfy me. I want to be number 1 or number 2 pick, and that shows that you're the best.
So with millions of dollars staring him in the face, Roy Williams chose not to enter the NFL draft. He announced his intentions in the locker room before the last game of the regular season.
I told everybody, Coach Brown, I made a commitment to you, and so let's just squash all this media stuff if I'm going or if I'm staying. So I'm just going to stay. I made a commitment to you.
I jumped up and said, would you repeat that a little louder? I thought I heard you were staying.
I asked him why, but it's all about the team, man. He wanted to come back and try to get another chance at a national championship, and he just wants to be the best player, in college football.
Look out, it's Williams. Roy Williams is gone.
Despite tremendous success on the field, Williams lacked the same intensity off it.
It didn't work out at all before the first 3 years.
I remember when we was freshmen and sophomores. I remember one semester he might not even touch the weight.
But in off-season workouts this year, his teammates discovered a disciplined and determined player.
Roy stands up and says, I'm going to take over this summer. We're going to work hard. We're going to have our best summer. And then he sat down, he got back up, and he kind of grinned and said, I know some of you all are thinking I've never been a guy that works very hard now. That has changed. I am working, so don't think I'm lying.
Going through it, if I get tired of something, I'll just say, well, if you're tired, you should have left. That's what gets me through. That reminds me that I want to be the best, so let's continue to work hard. Let's be the first guy through the line.
You can just tell he wants it, even though he's so good and so above a lot of people, he's still trying harder and he's bringing everybody with him, they're like his troops, I guess.
It's my turn. I'm a senior, and I feel that I am a senior leader of this football team, and it's just something that I guess comes natural.
At first he was just going off for talent. Now he's helped himself out by working harder to make that talent a lot better. So, when you get him going, it's going to be hard to stop him.
How many college football players would pass up on the potential to be a top 10 pick? 0. And what's driving him is to try to get a Big 12 championship, maybe a national championship, and to be the first pick overall. Not number 10, but be the first pick overall. It's a great year for wide receivers, but this guy could be the best of a bunch if he can stay healthy.
Yeah, the best I saw last year in person was Larry Fitzgerald, Pittsburgh. What a football player this guy is. I'll tell you what his stats were. He averaged over 100 yards receiving versus Miami, Texas A&M, Notre Dame, Virginia Tech, and West Virginia. This guy's caught 12 touchdown passes. Watch against Miami right there in the corner of the end zone. Woo! What a player. The sleeper, Ernest Wolford. I love this guy's size, 6'4", 220 pounds. He averages 18 yards per catch. He can catch the ball in a crowd, but this is my favorite, my friends. The guy can fly. This is an 87-yard touchdown reception. What a football player. I'm telling you, when they start jamming up against Virginia Tech, over the top to Ernest, they're going to be tough.
We haven't even mentioned like Mike Williams, who like Fitzgerald is also a sophomore.
Oh, my. Reggie Williams at Washington.
Right.
Oh,
Lee Evans is back at Wisconsin. And who we forgetting? I think the guy might be the best of the bunch.
Jenkins is good. Who?
Rashawn Woods. Oklahoma State. You asked Steve Dees, who covered him.
We need to do a whole show on just receivers.
There's only
too
an
many
hour.
of them.
That's great.
We got 4 big stories still coming up, including predictions on conferences in the national title game and the coaching situation. These guys have paid the price. Why leading a team extends far beyond the field. And a couple of coaches who might be fielding questions about how they plan to return to prominence. We'll get thoughts on that when we come back.
Welcome back to College Game Day, built by the Home Depot.
Tracking 10 big stories to watch out for in 2003. Lee nor Kirk believe that Ohio State will repeat as national champs. Can they even win the Big Ten? Ooh. That's coming up. Showing you the impact players and definitely the strongest position in college football, wide receiver. Number 4 story is coaching turmoil. Now, we're all used to having coaches get fired for not winning enough games, but in the offseason, various other off-the-field rules that led to the firings of Rick Neuheisel and Mike Price fired after their spring games. Lawsuits, threats of more lawsuits have resulted, and questions about coaching responsibility have been raised.
This job that I've just received means more to me than you'll ever know. It's the premier job in the world, and I respect that. I had too much to drink one night and ended up at a topless bar. I still don't know what the reasons were for termination.
I'm a lot of things, but I'm not crazy enough to risk my job and my integrity over a basketball auction. And the next thing I know, they got me thinking I've been involved in organized gambling, that there was criminal activity.
Conversation with Neuheisel on the premiere of College Game Day. By the way, he's a quarterback coach at a high school in the Seattle area for this season. Coaches' responsibility to their players and their programs.
Well, you know, I've had a high-profile job either in coaching or television for the last 34 years, and I'm going to share you what I have learned. With recognition comes responsibility. With a high-profile job, you cannot act like anybody else. Your standards are set higher. Your professional and private life are always analyzed by somebody. And this is the most important thing I learned. When you are tempted, and you will be tempted to do something you know is not wrong, but it's not right, you got to step back and say, is it worth losing my family and my job to do something? And Kirk Herbstreit, nothing is more important than doing the right thing and keeping your family in the right job.
I couldn't have said that any better myself, Lee. And the thing that I think is ironic here is people are starting to say, well, these coaches, I mean, they got to know better. Of course they know better. I think what they're having a hard time with is differentiating between public life and private life. There no longer is a private life. And unless you're in your own house with your immediate family, private life is out the window because of the internet, because of cameras, because of all the technology today. You always have to have your guard up and just assume there's a camera on you at all times or a microphone on you at all times, because you never know.
Well, politicians and celebrities are also scrutinized, but the consequences for their actions not the same as when you're the most visible state employee, the coach, and perhaps the highest paid state employee as well. All right, coaches who are feeling some heat this season.
Well, I feel that Bobby Bowden is feeling a little heat from the media and some people down in Florida. But let me say this about Bobby Bowden. From what I have read and heard, he's about to change his philosophy of the open door, friendly atmosphere of Florida State, and what he's going to do is circle the wagons mentality. And I'm telling you right up front, Bobby Bowden is making a mistake if he does that, because that's not Bobby Bowden. I've known the guy forever. He's an open kind of guy. He must go back to being who he is, what he is, and be a good guy and let the chips fall where they may. Bobby Bowden's making a mistake by changing his philosophy. I'm telling you right now. Well, that's a first guess, not a second guess.
I just hope his players buy into some of that toughness so they start playing better defense this year coming up. Let's talk about Frank Solich and what Nebraska has done in the last couple years. Frank Solich in his first 5 years has averaged close to 10 wins. He's 2 years removed from the national championship game, yet in Lincoln, he just let 6 assistants go, getting ready for this year. He's coming off a 7-7 season. He needs to silence the critics by having a great year. In my opinion, Frank Solich and Tommy Bowden at Clemson. We did 2 or 3 games last year with Clemson, and the fans are upset with Tommy Bowden because he got off to too good a start. Second year, he was 9-2. Since then, 6-5 and 7-5, and he needs to win this year.
And Nebraska, Solich believes those new assistants, that new blood, will really help. I think they're going to be better. I don't think it'll be good enough.
Tough league.
That's the question.
Yeah.
Guy who had a fabulous debut season at Notre Dame is Ty Willingham. They're encouraged to play like a champion. Can they get it done this year? We'll have our all-access pass inside the Irish program. Kellen Winslow taking a page from Keyshawn and Jeremy Shockey's book, helping him do something he's never done before. Coming in last season, you had 2 of the top 3 Heisman vote getters from the previous year coming back, so everybody was talking Dorsey and Grossman. Neither guy finished in the top 4. This year, none of the top 10 are back. So, fresh faces. Who do you like? December 13th, Yale Club Heisman Trophy. Never too early.
Never too early start. Eli Manning, Ole Miss quarterback. Couple of major reasons. Number one, he's got name recognition, and that doesn't hurt. He'll have Heisman numbers. And remember, Palmer won it last year with 2 losses. Eli's big games at Florida, at LSU. He's got good vision, both of those on television. The other guy is John Navarre, quarterback, Michigan. Be careful, my friends. This guy's sneaking around a chicken coop. Powerful offense, going to win a lot of games. So wouldn't it be something if we had Manning versus a Michigan guy for the Heisman?
I don't think Miss Manning can handle that one more go-around. Let's not even talk about Eli better win games, because this award really has become a team award as much as the individual. It usually goes to the best player on one of the best teams. And in my opinion, the best player in college football in 2003 is the tight end of the Miami Hurricanes, Kellen Winslow.
Touchdown, Kellen Winslow. Winslow Jr. touchdown. We've seen his attitude. We've seen his hands. This was just pure speed. Winslow touchdown. Miami. He throws to the end zone. Touchdown. Kellen Winslow.
I remember in the national championship game, there was a point where you guys were struggling a little bit. Next thing you know, you just went off during a TV timeout, started yelling at guys in the huddle. You were talking to Ohio State on the other side. You just got rage inside you. Is that you, or do you think that's always been there?
I don't know. I don't know what came over me, man. I never want to lose, ever. And we were down at that point. And I was like, man, we could lose this game. We could really lose this game. And I got on the phone with my offensive coordinator, Coach Chud. I was like, no disrespect, but bleep and give me the ball. Bleep, bleep, bleep. We weren't doing the things we needed to win the game right there. And offensive line wasn't playing real well, so I was getting in their face and just trying to rev up everybody. And it worked. I was just in the zone that game.
What do you think when you go back and you think about your relationship with Jeremy? What do you think you picked up? What did you gain by being behind him and just hanging around him in practice and in meetings?
The main thing he taught me was route running. He really taught me like the crisp way to run routes. I would always pat my feet when I come out of breaks, and people would be right on me. I wasn't using my athleticism.
He watched me in practice. He watches us fight. You know, he just watches us how the position, you have to have an attitude to play that position, and he understands that, and he has one.
Shockey and I are just alike on the field, real competitive, and I knew I could do the same things, but it just took patience for me to wait till my sophomore year. It's real tough when you're a big star and then you got to wait a year, then play.
Somebody's slacking, somebody's not doing something, you go tell them about it. You tell them how, you know, they should be playing. You tell them how how good you are. You tell him all kinds of crazy stuff. So Kellen's got that. He's got everything it takes to be the best.
Kellen Winslow is one of the most competitive guys I've ever met. And I know a tight end has never won the Heisman Trophy, but this guy, in my opinion, is the man to beat.
Well, the late, great Leon Hartwell. He was kind of a tight end in 1949.
That's right, yeah.
All right, coming up, predictions. We'll get to the BCS championship game, who's going to be there and why when we come back. Plus, off the field and in the locker room, you get a first-hand look at Notre Dame football, part of a season-long series. We'll visit with Ty Willingham straight ahead.
Our execution about what we're doing, obviously, defensively, is not good enough.
Our list of 10 stories to watch for this season has reached number 2. Can Notre Dame build on the success of last season's 10-win total, or did the blowout losses at the end of the year indicate they've got a long way to go? All season, you're going to get an all-access pass inside Notre Dame football. It premieres Tuesday, September 9th. It'll be every Tuesday on ESPN. Here's a taste from training camp.
Whenever we play, wherever we play, it doesn't matter whether it's blue or gold, whether it's Washington State, Michigan State, Purdue, on down the schedule. Execution has got to be there. I am looking to put our team together so we can reach the greatness that this football program should have. Let's go, come on, Jerome! Hurry up! Faster, slow it down, going forward.
Summer conditioning is where you can build a championship team. I think you can make yourself or break yourself in the summer, because if you don't come out and take advantage of the time you have in the summer, you can really hurt yourself in the season.
Okay, we get out of here, go through the fence, get a sip, take about a 2-minute deal, then we're gonna run tempos.
Summer is a good opportunity to just look at yourself in the mirror and say, what do you want to do? That's when you really got to push yourself to be that much better.
Butts on the line! Discipline! Come on, work it. There you go. Tap. Here we go. Come on, there you go. Don't look around, let's go! Run! That's you, Molinaro! That's you, Milligan! That's you, Lamar! That's you, Rodimer! Quick, don't stop! Okay, now.
This is really mainly for rhythm. Big three, gather, step and throw. Just for rhythm.
Beat him out of his stance. Set. Go! You should have beat him. I don't care when they move. Get off the line!
Joining us now, Notre Dame head coach Tyrone Willingham. Coach, is all that hard work we just saw there, is that a residue from a very disappointing end to a very good season last year?
Well, I think there's no question that we are definitely disappointed about the way we finished the season, but at the same time, we've never been a coaching staff nor a program to look back. What we're focused on is the future, and we think there's a bright future for our program.
What's one or two key things that have to happen to get the Irish through an impossibly tough schedule?
I'm glad you chose the term impossible, because it is difficult, yes, but not impossible. What we have to do, first of all, is continue to play with the passion that we played with last year. Then we've got to have our offensive group really pick up their pace, and I think they're geared to do that. Our defense must play great football, and our special teams must be explosive.
Lee asked earlier, who makes that Notre Dame schedule? Wouldn't you rather have a little more margin for error? I mean, it's a very different philosophy from a lot of schools these days.
Well, again, Notre Dame has occupied a very special position in the country as one of the, I guess, true big-time independents. And therefore, when you are on that pedestal, you have to play quality teams. So it is something that they've done over the years and will continue to do.
Another tough offseason for coaches with more money, more scrutiny. Have the rules for guys in your profession changed, Tyrone?
Well, it always depends on who you talk to as what the rules are and have they changed. But from my perspective, no. The rules have always been the same, and they will be the same. It's about hopefully developing great players, great student, and great young people, and then providing them with the proper role models.
Only coach I know of who rides a mountain bike to practice. I love that. Still doing that?
Well, you know what? I'll be honest. I kind of go back and forth between my rollerblades and my bike.
All right. Thanks for your time. We look forward to rolling on with the Irish this season behind the scenes. We appreciate it, Tyrone.
Thank you.
So topic one for our speed drills, and I do mean speed. Will Notre Dame make a BCS bowl game?
No schedule too tough.
Well, you got to get to 9 wins for Notre Dame. I think the defense will keep them in every game. Not enough offense. I say no.
UCS conference is now starting in the Big Ten. Who wins it?
Michigan, favorable schedule, John Navarre.
Well, I think Wisconsin, Ohio State winner. The game is in Madison at night on ESPN. I like Wisconsin to win the Big Ten.
Pac-10's got 4 new coaches, some good quarterbacks left. It's usually about quarterback play. Who wins?
Washington, very good pick by me. They got USC at home.
I think Arizona State, they've got a quarterback in Andrew Walter. I like Arizona State.
Big 12 has 3 of the top 5 preseason. Who wins the league?
Oklahoma. They run it, play defense, and kick it. Oklahoma.
I like Oklahoma against Kansas State, with Kansas State winning the Big 12.
Could be Texas this year, but they got to beat K-State twice. That scares me. SEC.
LSU, my old favorite team. They didn't make it first week last time, LSU.
I like Tennessee. I think Tennessee, Arkansas. Tennessee was banged up all year. I think redemption for Philip Fulmer this year.
Wow, nobody picking Florida to get even close.
No, no.
All right. ACC.
Da, 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 da,
You're really going
Florida
there.
State, got to.
I'm going, Chuck Amato has a little bit of that in him.
Right.
NC State, this is their year. A lot of speed, and Phillip Rivers, great leader.
Last year for the Big East, as we know it, can anybody unseat Miami?
Yes, Pittsburgh, because they got Virginia Tech at Miami, both up at Pittsburgh.
Yeah, we'll see if their fans show up. I think Virginia Tech, they get Miami at home. Virginia Tech, another team that's looking for a little redemption from last year.
Miami has a 34-game streak snapped, and that neither of you pick them to win the league, or Ohio State, and you disagree in every BCS conference, right?
Yeah.
Everybody play the Nokia Sugar Bowl for the national title.
We'll tell you in a second. We're going to tell you in a second. I wrote yours down, too.
College Game Day Season Preview Special, built by the Home Depot. You can do it. We can help. And brought to you by Foot Locker. Got a question? Ask the guy in the stripes.
Number 1 question for the season has to be, which 2 teams will collide for the national championship January 4 Superdome Nokia Sugar Bowl? You're first.
Well, I'm going to go off the radar a little bit. I think Virginia Tech coming out of the Big East and Kansas State in the Big 12. Virginia Tech and Kansas State.
Oklahoma beats Kansas State in cold Kansas City, and Michigan's got Ohio State at home. But watch out, Michigan, Oregon. Sneaking around.
Should be a great season. We'll see you at Columbus, Ohio, before the Buckeyes and the Huskies next Saturday morning. Picks on ESPN.com.
Oh, man.
That's not right. That's not right.
That's right.
That's not right.